Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. My name is Mr. Polar12, and in all my years of living, I have played a multitude of games. Some were really good, and some were so bad they shouldn't even be considered games. In my search for good games to play, I learned that Epic Games was just giving away a new game or new games every month. And for 2ish years, I have been accumulating those free games. At first it was just a couple, then 50, then 100, and now it's over 200 games. 200 games that were just sitting in my library untouched until I decided to play at least one game from them every now and then. I call this the quest for some epic games. Every now and then, I will download a new game from the Epic library. I will give the games at least 2 hours, but that might change depending on the game. And at the end, I'll rate it and judge it based on certain criterias. The first one being how hard the game's OST slaps and how good the sound design is. That includes voice acting, background noise, and sound effects. Music and sound design are one of the foundational pillars of a game, as it helps create the atmosphere and feel of a game immediately and also affects the replayability of a game. The second criteria is how good the game looks to me. A game might have good graphics, but I might not like the design choices. The third criteria is originality and creativity of story and gameplay. And the fourth one is how good the gameplay experience feels overall for me. So join me on my quest for epic games. Also, I stream every now and then, so it'd be nice if you can join me. I'll pin the live stream details in the comments, so come on out. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is an interesting game, which immediately differentiates itself from other games on its store page. Anyone who enjoys quick short stories will find this game appealing with its multitude of short stories to collect. Let's start with the music and sound design. I really like the narrator they got for this game. His voice is deep and gravelly in a very satisfying way, and doesn't seem to just be reading off the script.
The man in gray across from you, though, he's good. He already had the largest pile of coins when you bought in, and while your winnings grow quick.
The Wolfman's voice actor is pretty good too, although I did think he would sound rougher or more primal in a way.
Your life, sure, but more than that. Your labor. You see, this land is built on stories. It's one big.
I think the voice acting was really good because even the VAs for the fireside characters sounded generally in tune with their characters and their stories. At least with the characters I met.
You can trust me to make sure this is the most comfortable journey you've ever had in your life. Who am I? Well, I'm no George, I'll tell you that. But that's not important. This trip is about you, friend.
The sound effects were very immersive, and none of them sounded out of place. You can tell the sound design was given a lot of thought, as even the ambient noises and background music changes the character's disposition. Whoa. The amount of thought and emphasis placed on the auditory storytelling is great to see and makes a lot of sense. Good storytellers have always depended on the use of auditory special effects to grab the attention of their audience. I'd be quite disappointed if any game called itself story driven and had disgusting or non existent audio. I think the only thing wrong with their audio was their music. The music, while you traveled, is good, don't get me wrong, but it's quite repetitive. And when 70% of the game is traveling, there has to be more variety in the music. Something to jam out to or keep your attention. This is where the game lost me. The music got boring after hearing the same stuff over and over. Bum, 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 ba-da-ba-dum, ba-da-ba-dum. Wait, where am I going? That's why even though the sound design and everything was well made, I still have to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next is visuals. I really like the way everything was drawn. The cutscenes, the dialogue, and the background. The art style fits the overall feel of the game and the stories, and fits very well in the era they set the game in. I also like the design for a lot of the characters, and their expressions are really convincing. Most characters look rough and scrawny, which perfectly reflects the Great Depression, which the game is set in. Some of the pictures look like they would be perfect covers for books made in those times. I just found the visuals fitting and eye catching, which is why I'll give them a 9 out of 10. Moving on to story and creativity. The concept of this game is very creative, as it uses this sort of open world gameplay to basically show the evolution of legends and myths, where you collect the base or the bones of a story, and then you go around sharing that, which, after being shared for a while, will have had more and more meat or more substance added onto them. I really like the small stories that I found, as a lot of them were actually pretty interesting, horrifying, or just wholesome to listen to. For example, there was a story of you working in a sugarcane field where the manager left you for a while. Some of the men left and took the hatches the manager gave. You keep working with another woman, and later on, the manager returns with a bunch of lumps in the back of his truck and a bunch of hatchets and gives you and the woman your pays. Or there was another one where you take a bath in a river when a winged horse devil comes near you and you basically have a staring contest with it. Then it gets even more interesting and more entertaining when you hear the ways other people have interpreted it or reshaped it. It's a really great concept. The main goal and story with the wolves sort of becomes an afterthought. Although it's a really good opening and there are some parts of lore you find scattered here and there about the wolf, all in all, the story and creativity gets a 9 out of 10. Now the gameplay. Once I got past my initial excitement and interest in finding stories, I found the game very dull. Yes, the stories were really good and the concept was very cool, but there was no real substance to the gameplay. I went from treating it as a treasure hunt to treating it as a collectathon, as you have to have specific types of stories to progress relationships with other people and get their stories. Also, the walking was very slow and tedious. Imagine an old woman with arthritis trying to get up the stairs. It felt that slow, and when you consider that walking is half of the game, it gets dull very quickly. They did try to make it more interesting with the whistling, but there's only a certain amount of times I can listen to the same notes in the same sequence of said notes over and over again before I find it annoying. I really like their concept, but I wish they found another way to do it because a grueling open world collectathon wasn't it. But it's easy to see why they went for this type of gameplay because how else could they have done it? Comment down below if you think there's a better way to do it. Anyways, the game is really brought down by its gameplay, and that's what makes it a game. I appreciate trying to make use of games as another form of storytelling, but there are ways to do it better, like Red Dead. It's an open world, and you're basically witnessing a lot of people's stories unfold. I don't know. I hope they try to expand a bit more on the gameplay because right now this game is only for the most patient of people. In the end, the game gets a 1 out of 10 for gameplay, which brings the game's total score to a 6.75 out of 10. I would really only recommend this game to people who want to look at games in a more artistic viewpoint, or people who really like visual novels. It's not for people looking to fill their downtime with something fun and exciting. If you want to look at cool art or read cool stories, but want something in between, this might be the game for you. Anyways, goodbye and thanks for watching. Remember to watch me on Twitch and watch my other videos. Like, share, and subscribe, please. And have a good day or night wherever you are.